just like we do it. So my name is Lois Efwa Ochewa Damte. I'm a PhD student at the Open University and studying engineering innovation, particularly focusing on the production of materials for wastewater treatment. So where are you coming from? What do you do? What are you hoping to do? It will be good to have you in the chat section. I see all of you that are joining in. It'll be great to know where you're watching from so that we can interact like human beings, as virtual as this may be. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to you wherever you're watching off. It's good to have you back on here. So today we are not going to do much. We are not going to talk much. We are just going to delve straight into the conversation of the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. What have you heard about it? Have you tried applying for it so many times and never got through? That's why you're here. Have you tried, this is your first time and you feel like you're not so confident about it? We are about to trash all the myths that you've heard about Commonwealth Share Scholarship. I personally haven't applied for it before, so I decided to bring in people who have applied for it so that they can share their experience with us. And definitely one or two things they would say will actually lead us into making us confident enough to be able to share, to start the application. So just like I know, Commonwealth Shared Scholarship helps you to be able to study for a 1-year master's in the UK. That's hooray, on a fully funded scholarship. And so if you're looking at studying in the UK as well and you're here, really, this would be a very good option for you to go for. But now let's go into the nitty-gritties about it. Is it that easy? Could we just get around with it? The deadline for the application, I think, is on the 9th of April, the last time I checked. And so as quickly as it may be, you've got probably about 2-3 weeks to be able to get this application done if you're confident enough. Okay, so without much I say, I'll introduce my first speaker. My first speaker happens to be in the person of John Elliott Hagan. And he's at the University of Westminster studying MA Media and Development. John happens to be a Commonwealth Share Scholarship nominee, but is currently serving as studying on the Chevening Scholarship. I'm going to ask you why you chose that over that, but let's go into the conversation. Then our next speaker who will also be on is Emmanuel Kufuor Osei. I'll ask him whether he's related to the ex-president of Ghana. And he is studying at the University of Leicester. He's studying MSc Infection and Immunity. A lot of science talks there, huh? Okay, so he is studying on the Commonwealth Shared Scholar, and he is also on a part scholarship, which happens to be the Geoffrey Copeland International Scholarship somewhere in 2020. Great. He's also a Commonwealth Shared Scholar for 2020-2021. So welcome you all, guys.
Hey.
Thank you, Lois. It's good to have you. It's good to have you guys on here, and I hope you're going to have a very fruitful conversation. So first, we're just going to, so Elliot, I would just like you to introduce yourself shortly, probably give us a little bit about your educational background, any work experience you've had that probably led into the success of this application.
Okay, so thanks for the question and welcome all on board. Like you rightly said, John Elliott Hagan, proud to apply into this scholarship. I've been a journalist with the Finder newspaper, one of the leading newspapers in Ghana, private newspapers in Ghana. I've worked with the company for almost 8 years as a reporter. Before that, I was at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, where I had my first degree in journalism. That was my major. So I completed school, and barely a year, I got this scholarship to come and study for my master's. It was something I actually planned that I won't have to waste much time after my first degree because I've already spent time getting to the university. So it was something I had in mind before I even went to study for my first degree. So I left school in 2019, and just last year, I got a scholarship to come over to the UK to study for my master's. So basically, this is John Elliott Hagan.
Yeah, nice meeting you, John Elliott Hagan. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Hello, John. Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And hello everyone. I'm Emmanuel Kofosei. I'm currently studying infection and immunity at the University of Leicester on the Commonwealth Shared scholarship. And prior to my studies in the University of Leicester, I was a teaching and research at the University of Education, Winneba, Bampong campus. And that was the same campus I completed my undergraduate education. I read BSc Biological Sciences Education. And as John said, even before I completed my bachelor's studies, I knew and planned on applying for the Commonwealth scholarships. I mean, the Commonwealth has a number of scholarships.
Hi, I hope that's not from
One
me.
being the master scholarship, Queen Elizabeth
Hi,
progress in
John.
this meeting. A lot of other details will start coming up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think I lost you a bit, but I hope everything went on as planned in on the Facebook live feed. Yeah. So, well, interesting conversation. Tell us if your network is okay or is coming from me, the host. Probably you should move on. So we'll quickly delve into it. So how did you get the scholarship, and what were the steps you had to go through? This is obviously like what are the documentations and the processes you obviously had to go through for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship if someone wants to start immediately.
So the basic requirement is for you to have a first degree with a minimum class of second class upper. You can get in with a lower, but your chances are very, very slim. I should be very truthful over here. So the basic requirement is that you must have a first degree, voluntary and all other requisites here. You know, with the student scholarship, you must have relevant work experience, at least two. You don't necessarily need any working experience. You shouldn't have worked or schooled in a developed country for more than a year, which is one of the requirements. And if you try to tell a lie, your passport will own you up. So you should be very truthful about this. Also, you need a passport, you need your transcript, your IELTS, that is your international English language test. You need this, and it must be valid at the time you are starting your program. So you must take note of this. Some schools will not be so keen about it. Others who push you for it. It's a requirement. You must have it. Uh, if I'm to go further, you have to apply to the schools for admissions on the site separately and apply for the scholarship too on the site separately. You can also do both simultaneously, but it only makes sense you get your admissions set because your work will only go in vain if you are following admissions and you don't even know you are writing the essays for the application and you don't know the outcome of your admission. So it's always right that you secure your admissions and know that okay, at least your admissions are secured, because I can tell you a personal problem I face along the line with admission. So it's always better because you can get a scholarship when admissions are not set. I can tell you for a fact the schools will not listen to that. You need to secure your admission. So basically, these are the things you need. Might have a little.
Thank you, John. I took it really hard when you betrayed Commonwealth Shared to choose Chevening.
But you also betrayed
That
my school.
detail later.
You got a scholarship in my school, but you chose to not come to go to Leicester. So I also
Okay. Experience. I mean, you can be fresh out of your bachelor's education, your undergraduate education, and apply. And in the original, technically, you can apply even when you are in your final year of studies,
Sure.
as long as your certificate will be ready by the time the results of the applications come out. With the 2019 applications, that is for the 2020-21 entry year, the applications were opened in December. Was opened in November, and the deadline was in
Yeah.
December 18th.
December. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So with that was earlier than we see this year, and I can attribute it to the effects of the global pandemic going on
Pandemic.
right
Yeah.
now. So
Okay.
that is one thing you have to note, that with this you don't need you don't have to be working or gain any extraordinary job experience or work experience before you can apply. And you would have to submit your
So
passport, as he said, and if you have your transcripts or certificates. These are the things you would need for the start. And as far as the applications to the school and the application to Commonwealth goes, during my application, there were some I had to apply. I applied to some schools first before I initiated a Commonwealth application for those schools or to those schools. And for my Leicester application, the school I am in right now, I did I did the Leicester University application first, and then proceeded to do the Commonwealth application. However, by the time I completed the Commonwealth application, I still did not have an unconditional offer for my school because of the English proficiency I had to demonstrate. That is why you will need the IELTS results for your application. But for mine, the WASI results was able to suffice, because my department was looking for anything above a C4, a B3, sorry. But some schools, or it varies from department to department. Some will accept C6 or above, some will accept up to B2. But to be safe, you would have to get your IELTS test or any other approved English proficiency test out there. That is what I would advise. Because I faced some challenges before I was able to get my certificate to actually send to my school to gain my unconditional offer.
Okay.
And with the Commonwealth applications, if you've started already by now, you know that most of the work has to have to do with writing of essays and trying to express your aspirations and trying to narrate your past and your present, what you are currently doing in words. And this will be no criteria for them to judge your application. Most of the time, people would think that it is just first class students who are able to gain the scholarship to study on the Commonwealth Shared. But in my experience, with my cohort, people in my year group studying on the Commonwealth Shared scholarship, I can say that most of them graduated with a second class upper.
Okay.
I
Okay.
know I know many students who are studying with a second class upper, though having a first class and having some level of experience really bolster um, your chances of getting on the scholarship. But
Okay. Okay. Ima, I'm not catching you in,
okay.
but I think that this conversation dwells a lot about what qualities must a candidate have to win the Commonwealth Share Scholarship. So you've highlighted that it's not necessary that you get a first class. Obviously, people have gotten an upper that they've gotten it. So I think that before we delve into the essays, John, do you have anything to add to what are the qualities you think a candidate might possess apart from what Emmanuel said?
So, unlike Chevening, I'm always trying to compare something here. You know, Chevening focuses on your past experiences and how relevant it is to your proposed study. But for Commonwealth, the truth of the matter is the emphasis is more on academic merit. You get it because these are students coming straight from universities with first class, second class, and all that. So for Commonwealth, you need to actually have that particular merit in terms of your academic how do you call it, discipline. So what we have to do is, if you're talking about qualities, you can go along with the second class. I know personally friends who have won Commonwealth with second class upper, but if I'm to talk about the qualities in total, you must come with a very, very good essay. You get it? Equally good essay. Professional award is also one of the qualities you can bring on board. Awards that you've won. You should be a candidate with published articles and journals to your credit. Uh, Other qualities that you should be a candidate who has held positions and made previously impacts relating to your proposed studies. For instance, like me being a journalist, you should have made some impact with the work that you do. You should have written stories which are related to the courses that you want to do. Ultimately, you are likely to win a slot when you are competitive. You are able to tell your story well. And telling your story well means you are telling a compelling story. The panel members or members of the panel don't know you. It's your story and your essay that you are going to use to sell or market yourself. It is through your essays that will determine the type of candidate you are and whether you are the sort of candidate they are looking out for. What I can add here is also you must be very consistent and specific about the things you put down in your essays. Don't be around everywhere. Don't be out there. Just be concise. Know what you are telling the panel. Be consistent. You see, saying this in this particular essay, then he or she digresses into another topic or another element in another essay. So what I'm trying to say is, even though I'm not trying to discourage the second class upper students, what they can come into this scholarship competition with is very, very strong essays. They should come with a very compelling essay, tell their stories, and try and be truthful to themselves. Write very good essays, and I think by that they can even annex their scholarship ahead of first class students. I know second class students who have made it, but truth to be told, you are in a better position if you're a first class student.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just quickly move into the next part of the question. I think that that answers where the essays that Kufa was talking about, that your, and John, you also highlighted that your essays have to be striking. So let's have some tips to make someone's essay striking. And just before, you can also put your questions in the chat box session, and we'll be sure to ask the panel. Before that as well, we'll bring a description of how the essay should go and how the forms look like. We'll have a demo. I call it a demonstration on how the whole application relates. So stay tuned and put your questions in the chat box section. Okay, so we'll go straight to how does one relate their proposed study to one, development issues at the global, national, and local level? I think that's a very good question as far as Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is concerned.
That's the first question, actually.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Emmanuel, if you can take that first.
Okay. Let me get the question up.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, John, you can take that. I think Emmanuel, maybe giving a background of what you do and how you were able to relate that question to how it will help solve development issues. I think as a scientist, it's very important. Try to relate that as well. John, if you can take that question.
So this is the most critical aspect of the application. With this particular question, you must be specific with the problem that you find in the sector and how you want it addressed. You know, you take your time and address it from the global to the local level. You understand me? So you first approach it by stating the problem. For example, in my case as a journalist, the problems I find in my sector are fake news, corruption, bribery, and all that. So, and this is something pertaining globally, you understand me? And it comes down to the local level. So I was able to identify some of these problems in journalism. And while you're doing this, you must look out for verifiable data. You get the data, like current data, what is happening, how the problem has evolved, what is happening with the problem now. Find out what agencies, sectors, or industry players are doing about this particular problem. And also find out whether there are gaps. After doing this in this same particular essay, you state how your proposed program, that's another part of the question, can help you address this. And by doing this, you have to stand out as someone who has the ability to solve problems, someone who is result oriented. You get it? Because the problems pertaining around your proposed study can also be broad. So you are not the one going to solve this problem. This is a problem standing long way before you were even born, if you put it that way. You are not the one coming to solve this issue. So you have to identify a gap, how you can use a proposed study to solve that small problem within that umbrella. You get it? It could be a big problem. Let's say, for example, a health issue. You can look at reproductive health. You can look at cervical cancer. Depending on your field and what you think your proposed study can help address this particular issue. So you can narrow it down to, for example, whatever you think you can do with it, the gaps you identified, and how you look forward to addressing it. The best way I can do your research, find out the problems, is sometimes the research can tell you solutions to the problem, because these are things people are trying to do. So it's not like you are now coming to bring something novel to the table. You get it? But you should be able to let them know that, okay, if we invest in you, you are coming back to do what we look out for by way of this scholarship. You can also find out ongoing projects, those that are abandoned. You get it? Try and find out gaps where you can chip in. But while you do this, try and link it to the SDGs. You get it? And the thematic area, the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is under 6 thematic areas. The ones I can remember on top of my head is access, inclusion, and opportunity, strengthening, promoting global health, promoting prosperity. There are like 6. I think the applicants might have come across it as we speak. So try and link your answer to the SDGs and the theme under which you propose study for, very importantly. And in answering this question, you can also chip in what you have done in your industry as far as the problem is concerned. For instance, if I'm talking about fake news, like I'm using myself as an example, or bribery and corruption, or the problems of investigating journalism as a whole, I can chip in where I have done something similar to this, where I have tried to solve problem within this particular bigger issue in my small way, what I have done and how I want to project it when I'm done with school. So this particular essay, once is trying to talk about how the program, your career plan, the problem itself, how they relate. You get it? So if it's about infection and immunity, like Imai is doing right now, they want to see how that can go forward, helping infections. Let's say COVID. COVID is what we are trying to deal with. How when you come back, you can help with infection education, how people will get to build their immune system and all that. So don't deviate. Try and look at your course, try and look at the problem, and try and talk about how even you have helped in that regard before you are even applying for the scholarship. So it's a bit technical, but when you get the drift, I think you can nail it.
Yeah, Ima.
Okay. Okay. I started smiling when Elliot started getting into my turf. When it gets to the science and health, I mean, it's when basically I summarize everything you have to know in terms of writing the first essay. But what I would advise you to do was, with this, everybody has their own area that they studied in or they are interested in. For instance, when it comes to matters of health and matters relating to the sciences, I'll be able to offer a lot more insights than in business or in computing. I would just, to make it easier for all of us, I'll just use something I thought about when I was doing my application. So the first one is asking you about, how your we are talking about a problem at the global, national, and local level. So it's kind of building up or deducing, coming down, trying to gets them interested. There are a number of problems in Africa or in Ghana that the world is oblivious to. So if you are going to start with any problem, it should be something that the readers could actually relate to.
Yeah.
So in the matter of health, for instance, right now we have cases, we have a pandemic ongoing. So if it's something about health, if it's something about infectious disease, you have that going on for you. So that would be a perfect example of a problem at the global level. Aside infectious disease, we have a number of high rising cases in we have complications associated with circulation, heart problems, kidney failure, and a number of problems we are facing in the health system that you can identify. You can come down to ones that are particularly endemic or particularly prevalent in Africa or sub-Sahara Africa. And it will be better for you to cite some examples. For instance, in infectious diseases, we have Ebola going on in Africa. We have some pandemics that was occurring in Africa that the world, for some reason, didn't know about. The media was not covering it and people were really dying. And you can come down to some of these cases that we've seen in Ghana. For instance, some of the outbreaks that gained, media attention and national attention was the case that happened in the secondary school some time back, I think Kumaka and some schools. You realize that when you sit down and analyze these things, you realize that they could have been dealt with. They are cases that could be prevented. There are cases that could have been prevented because even if these conditions had no cure, the meningitis and the others that we recorded, even if they had no cure, they were somehow treatable or manageable. So what was actually, accounting for the problems, what caused the escalation of these cases in our schools or in our communities? So these are something you can note down, and that is where you start connecting it to. The last part will be connecting it to what you are going to study. So I am going to study infection and immunity. I'm going to study biomedical science. I'm going to study public health. How will I be able to apply this in that?
Yeah.
I hope this clarifies things a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you're trying to identify the problem in the sector. You get it
Yeah.
from the global level, you bring
Yeah.
it out, and even in the country, there is how a problem pertains at the national level and our local levels in terms of any food at all. If it's about health, we have cheap compounds, we have things that happen in the local level and at the national level. So try and identify the problems, break it down, talk about how you use your proposed study to address it. Find a gap in a small way, like I said earlier on, how you are going to tackle this problem. If possible, if you are lucky enough, you might have worked in this particular field one way or the other. Tell the panel what you've done and how you're going to intensify it when you come back from your studies, and how you basically want to address this particular problem. And tell them finally how your course, what you have identified in the course, what the course is going to help you do to this particular problem. Finally, at the end of the day, you are bringing solutions, and that's all they want. The watchword is impact. So you get it. So
Yeah.
try and capture this in this particular essay. That's all
Yeah.
that they want.
And one thing you shouldn't forget is that you are working within a word count.
Yeah.
And you have to try and go through other questions before you even start putting your answers for each essay.
Sure.
Because there are some answers you might think should come in the first one that has a specific title dedicated to it at the bottom. For instance, the second one would be, how will you apply this?
How will you apply it? You
You
understand?
guys, so that for the first one, I would advise you dedicate that to trying to identify the problem. So if you've been able to identify the problem, what program are you going to read? You have to go to the university's website, the program that you've chosen. Some schools have areas that they focus on. For instance, my program is infection and immunity. It's a very broad area, but my school is focused on TB and asthma mostly. So you have to understand if it is finance, if it is accounting, media studies, if it's about agri or computing, you have to familiarize yourself with what the school, the program or your department is focusing on at the moment. Because understand that this scholarship is not just about the Commonwealth. It's a shared scholarship between the university and the Commonwealth. So whoever you are trying to appeal to, you should consider or factor the university you are selecting to. So it is not just about the Commonwealth. It is about the program you are choosing to and how it relates to the problem.
Yeah, that was a very, very helpful point. That is a shared scholarship, so you know you need to be in alignment with what the school is also working on. And I think that I'll highlight on the six main thematic areas for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I think I just made a quick check. So whilst you are here, you probably start to get to think that do what you want to do in this application fall within this line. And the first one is science and technology for development, strengthening health system and capacity, promoting global prosperity, strengthening global peace, security and governance, strengthening resilience and response to crisis, access, inclusion, and opportunity. So these are the six main areas. So just find out whether you fall within the thematic area. And it boils down to me remembering one of my work. So I'm a pure engineering student who does a lot of engineering lab work. And I've been challenged a lot to think beyond what we do in the lab work, where impact has to be in focus. So I remember one of my application that won me a certain internship in France was energizing a billion lives. I named my project Energizing a Billion Lives, where in the lab, all what I was doing was providing solar panels. So creating materials that could help in expanding the efficiency of solar panels, where every home in a rural area would have a particular solar panel, where the people in the community will also be trained to be able to solve the problems or be able to fix their own problems. And so it leaves, this is an engineering based work. I don't have anything, but you know, you have to think about the impact flow from the local level beyond your lab based work. So if you're a scientist here or anybody that does hardcore lab, you always have a bigger picture of what your work should be. And just like John said, impacts is the main focus for funders. So we'll move on to the next question. So the next is why the selection panel would want you to understand how your proposed study will assist in your career. How does one describe their skills that they expect to gain from this scholarship and your career plans once you return home afterwards? John, if you could take that question.
Okay, so this is where they want to find out how you apply this. Basically, you apply the skills you acquire through your proposed study when you return home. So with this particular question, you break it down in the short term, long term, and the short, the medium, and the long term. Specifically in the short term, you can talk about the thing that you do right after school. You get it. You can talk about the connections you intend to make while you're in school and how that can help in the future projects, what you want to do after school. You can tell them how you utilize your new skills to facilitate development in your country. You can also talk here about the gap you stated and how you'll be able to use your career plan to effect this particular problem, get it done, and solve all the challenges that you mentioned in your essay. So this particular essay is just a straightforward question. It's a career plan, but like Ima said, be mindful of the word count. I think that particular question is about 250 words or so. I've forgotten the number of words. Try and be very concise. Take it sentence by sentence. What you want to do, maybe 2 sentences with the short term. You give an example. Three sentences in the medium term. You give an example. Then the long term. So it's just basically for children. They will ask you a career plan. They will give 500 words to write this particular essay. But when you are addressing this particular problem, be mindful of the star approach, which talks about the situation, the task, the action, and the result thereof. So to do this, if you are trying to describe your career plan, look at the situation. You get it, that pertains within the scope of your study, and try how you approach it. what results you think might come out due to the career plan that you are going to execute and all that. So basically, how I see this question is about your career plan and how you are going to let them know your career is going to actually have an impact on society.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kufo, do you want to add on?
Yeah, yeah. What I would say is, Lois, can you specify is it development impact part 2?
Which
Uh,
number?
so I'm talking about your skills. What has your skills got to do with your career plan?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I talked about this already. That in as much as you are focusing on the scheme, the CSC, you have to also understand what your school is doing or the skills that your school is looking forward to inculcating in you once you complete, so that you will be able to translate that or fit that into the problem that you've identified. If you are going to, if you plan on working with an NGO in humanitarian activities, what have you actually learned from your university that will help you do that? And in my case, I listed, always I chose one body, one organization I wanted to work with in order to be consistent in my write-up. It comes across as someone who has planned,
Yeah.
someone who has already laid down an outline for themselves that they are going to follow. Though the things might change along the line, but before you get to that part, you should have developed something that you have to be working towards, or trying to get to.
Yeah. A quick build up on that. Do you think has engagement in voluntary activities and any opportunities led to demonstrate leadership, like in that scheme of career skills and all that?
Yes. Um. Okay. I'm trying to understand this one.
Yeah.
At the
You know,
last part, at
you
the
know,
last part, you would be asked to
asked to
talk
write
about your
leadership
leadership.
and involuntary. So there is a question. There's a question.
Question for that at
This
the
actually gives
bottom.
you space to write a lot. It's about 500 words, if I remember very vividly. It's about 500 words where
Yeah.
you write about
Yes.
leadership and voluntary. So I don't know if you want us to address this question once and for all before we move on.
I think that maybe in the demonstration, when we are doing the demonstration, it will give a quick highlight on that, because then we'll
Okay.
get to talk
Yeah.
about it using our own
Sure.
personal experience. So I
Okay.
think that the next question probably will be like, how does one answer how their impact of their work could be measured?
Okay.
Okay.
This is a good one.
Yeah. So the impact comes to play here again. They want to see the results of your work that you are going to do. How what you expect from the work you'll be doing after school. So over here, you tell them how the impact you made from the work for the impact you are going to make after school. So it's about the organization that you want to work with, how that will improve on what they do, or how you are positively influence this NGO before you even started school. Probably NGOs and number of people that will benefit from whatever research you do, formulation of policies. If it's about stories, how your stories, maybe for example, let's talk about maybe girls' education or quality education. So in this case, the impact can be measured by the number of girls who will be enrolled in schools because of your initiative, or because of the story that you wrote, or because of a research that you did, or the policies that you were able to bring on board, or the work that you are involved with. So this particular essay is just about 100 words. So you can break it down 1, 2, 3. The impact of my work can be measured when 50 girls in my villages are able to acquire basic education. The impact of my work can be measured when policies I formulate for my work are able to be implemented by the member of parliament in my community. The impact of my work can be measured, blah, blah, blah. So this is just telling them the outcome of your work. Even though you are not done with school and all that, you should be able to picture how the work you are going to do will impact society positively.
Emmanuel, would you add on?
Yeah. It looks like I always have something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with this one, how I always approach this is that you start from the ones that are small, very realistic, ones that can be measured in a short time frame. Then you build up to the bigger ones. So what I would advise you do is try and categorize yourself, whether you are looking forward to staying in academia or going into industry. And I'll create another third part, which is being self-employed. So once you know where you place yourself, you'll be actually
You should be
say
able to.
something about how
Yeah.
your work will be measured. For instance, in academia, what how we measure it, how we measure the impact of one's work. The first thing I would mention is the publications you come out with, the grants you win for your department or your lab, the patents, I mean, in the engineering and applied sciences, if you win any patents or if you win any professional prizes, these are some of the ways that your work can actually be traced or measured. Once, I mean, news of this, you notify your contacts on LinkedIn or your Facebook account or any professional account you are using. This will be a way of tracing the impact you are making as a result of the studies and the scholarship you've received. You fall under the industry, or if you are self-employed or working with a not-for-profit organization, this could be in a form of campaigns. For instance, I'm a sickle cell advocate. And should my program had been something in public health or global health or something relating to social work, my work could have been, I mean, evaluated or measured in campaigns that I pioneer or participate or take part in the planning. Okay, and this all goes with publicity. Once you start to walk down this line, you have to start adding info or skin to your LinkedIn account and your online profiles, because basically that is how people, I mean, trace you. If you are in Ghana and they are in the UK, they are obviously not going to send some sort of spies or anybody to come follow your work. It will be from the messages, the notifications, the updates you post on virtual platforms and the publications in magazines or journals that you make. And this is in relation to those going into social work and non-for-profit organization and the self-employment, those going into who will be self-employed too. I mean, these are some of the ways that your work can actually be measured. So it depends on where you find yourself, how you see yourself. Either you are in the academia, field of academia, or industry, or any other category you feel you best fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think that we will go to the next question. Then the demonstration will come. Then I've seen a couple of questions in the chat box, but I just want us to quickly finish it. Then we can take the question. So I received this question even over the week that someone was asking that, how do you provide a detailed plan of your proposed study? Elliot?
Detailed plan for me is basically about summarizing. It's just like the developmental impact essay one. It's just about talking specifically about the program you are going to offer at the university, how the program will relate to your field, how it's going to equip you to be able to go about your future career plan and all that. So it's basically about breaking down your course. There's another question about course outline. You get it, which talks about the courses and how your models and how the course is going to be run and all that. But this one talks about the problem in the industry. You get it. So you can talk about the problem, then link it to the course and how the course will prepare you to be able to tackle some of the problems within that particular industry. So proposed detailed plan of study is about the objectives of the course and how it will help you in your career plan going forward. So because I applied for 2 schools in the Commonwealth Shared scholarship, And I can tell you this question is also very important to the panel. It's very important. So you try, and because it's more like a supplementary essay to the developmental impact essay, but this one gives you more space to write specifically about the course, how it will equip you and all that. It doesn't talk about the thematic area, it doesn't talk about the SDGs. You can bring in the SDGs in this particular essay, but basically they want you to talk about the course in general and what you look forward as far as the course is concerned.
Mm, mm. Yeah, Imam.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at that particular question, there is a breakdown. So the first one is, why have you chosen your proposed courses
Yeah.
and the university? Am I reading the question correctly?
Yeah,
I
that's it.
think
Yeah,
that is the okay.
that's the
And
question. Yeah.
the second one is, what is it that you are looking for in a course, and how your choosing courses relate to your objectives, and
Yeah.
any dissertation topic you have in mind. So, like I was saying, when it comes to this, it's a shared thing. Don't focus just on Commonwealth, because there is another scholarship called Commonwealth Masters. For
Masters.
that one, the selection is solely based on Commonwealth. So their panelists and selection committee will actually go through your applications. But when it comes to the shared, remember that it is the school that will be paying your stipends. They will be giving you your allowances. The role Commonwealth plays is taking care of your tuition. Once that is settled, every work you'll be doing will be with your school. So they are the people that you should really try to
Interest.
impress. If not impress, try to make your point too. For this one, it says, why have you chosen your proposed courses and universities? That is what I said, that you have to do your research and understand what your university, the department, and the course is all about. Once you know that, you can actually borrow some of their vocabulary, if not to the nail. I mean, you can paraphrase and make it your own. That is a tip I'll give you. Because if you are going to um, apply for any program or that is funded, they want to see that, okay,
You
you
understand
are
what
not
you're doing. Yeah.
misplaced, that when you come, you are actually going to be working in an area that the school is already interested in. It makes it a lot simpler for you. And all this, during all this stages, in mind that you've already identified a problem in the first one, and so you shouldn't deviate from that. Applying or writing these essays, it's all about consistency, because the moment you deviate, you are likely to, I mean, get lost along the way. You may forget that you stated up there that you want to do this. When they ask you another question, you deviate from what you've already said up there, and that is where you will be sidelined. So you have to make sure that you are consistent in the things or the problems that you've identified at the top, and the problems that you have identified, how can you actually put it as a project topic? That is where the dissertation comes in. So you've identified a problem, put it as a topic. You don't really have to know the details about the project. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be able to identify the problem and put it in a sentence. And add something little about how that project will address the problem that you've identified up there. And that should be good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I see some questions
yeah,
here. I wanted us to go through some
okay,
questions, but I feel like we should go through the
okay.
demonstration because it will allow us to talk a bit more into maybe, oh yeah, I saw this question. This is how I went about it. Oh, I
Mhm.
saw this question. This is how I went about it. Okay,
Okay,
so I think I'm sharing my screen shortly of just the
okay,
sample questions and how
okay.
it is. Elliot, maybe you can just start with it. I can just scroll up just to go through if you have to speak anything about it or somewhere you can. Yeah.
Um,
So these are the thematic areas. So you just keep going up.
Yeah.
So yeah, your candidate ID, the system generates it for you.
Okay.
You can go, yeah. You put in your email address, whether it's correct or not, you just state it. That's just a confirmation, yeah. Mm,
So these are actually like the bio data.
sure. Yep, yeah. So these are your personal information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All these are your
Okay.
personal information.
And when it gets to the financial part, people are tempted to put down that they are so poor, they are so poor.
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
that I mean, choosing poor will not increase your chances.
Yeah.
That is, if I'm being frank with you,
Yeah.
I didn't choose that.
Yeah.
They know the conditions in Africa already,
They
and even if you are above the poverty line, still the tuition fees for international students in the UK is very expensive. And even the UK citizens who are paying a lower tuition fee still complain. So you don't really have to say that you are exceptionally poor
that will
before
not
you get considered.
that will not change
You can
anything.
just be honest on this,
Yes.
and that is it. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Exaggerating your situation will remember that these people have been reviewing essays for years. So they've heard it all, most of them. So don't just go and exaggerate
Yeah.
your situations. Okay. As much as possible, try and make your story brighter. That will help you than trying to sell yourself short that you don't have money,
So
you
keep
didn't
keep
go
keep
to a
going,
good
Lois.
school and all that. Yeah.
So
Okay.
so this
If you
is
don't
where
have any publication, yeah.
yeah
Yeah,
this,
I didn't put any publication.
you don't
I
need to.
didn't.
Yeah, if you have, you just use the digital object identifier to just post it. But if you have academic awards that you've won or any professional awards, you
Yeah,
type it there in the
yeah.
box.
You should put that
So yeah,
down.
you shouldn't underestimate them. You should just type them.
Yeah.
Can you please scroll up? So the essay that we discuss, I don't know. So for your references, you should have spoken to your referees way ahead before your application. They should be on the standby to be able to provide. Fine, you can change. I think Emma, can you change your referees?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think
But
so.
the truth is, the references, okay, will not improve your chances because they
Sure,
take
sure,
the
sure.
references after you've been
You
nominated.
nominate.
Okay.
The references will only change something when your referee say that, oh, no, he's a very terrible person. Don't waste your funds on him.
Yeah.
Aside that, it will not change anything because
Anything.
by the time they request for references, your nominations would have been already, you would have received your nominations already.
Yeah.
So just make sure you find someone who will be able to
To write
respond to
something.
the
Yeah.
request and write a very good reference for you when the time comes.
Yeah.
They take the reference, the
After everything is said and
notification
done.
of nomination comes before the request for reference. So
Sure.
I will not worry so much about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at
Absolutely.
least you are going to provide their email addresses, so you should let them be on the standby. One from your school, one from your professional capacity, one as a personal friend. So you need these three referees when you are selected. They have to provide because there's a timeline for it, and they must be on the standby. So
Okay.
it's not about what they will write because obviously your referee is not going to write anything bad about you, but they should know that this is what they'll be doing at this particular time. So you provide the details of your references in that particular. So here we are, your application. This is when you have applied. This is what I was coming to say. It always makes sense to have secure your applications. Even as you speak, in UK, most schools don't delay with application. Once they find you a very viable candidate, they don't waste time about it. Within 1 week, I remember I
Sometimes it's the same day. You
the
can
same
get
day. I
the
remember I've
admission
done
the same
admission.
day.
I applied on Friday. By Monday morning, my admission letter was already
Yep.
in my email. So try and apply and know your fit, whether you are getting it. Because what is going to offer you when you get the scholarship and your application is not ready? It's going to be a shoot in the foot. So I think you should secure your this admission first of all before you apply some of these things. This one talks about the sustainable development goal. When you pick your this thing, when you're writing your essay, they ask you to pick about 3 sustainable development goals, the one that is in tune with your project or your essay itself or the courses you are going to do. So under every thematic area, you choose 3. You choose 3 developmental goals. So this is where you stay. Then the first, second, third. We have 17 SDGs. So you focus on 3 at every point in time. So this is where you state your SDGs in this particular column.
Okay, before I forget this, let me chip this in very quickly. Be sure to check the school's website about their rules concerning Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. For instance, I know some schools that will tell you that don't apply for admissions there. Just apply for Commonwealth. If you are nominated, they will advise you to then
apply. Yeah.
For some schools, you don't have to apply to them. You just have to apply to Commonwealth. And there are some schools that also target certain countries. So if you are from Ghana, it decreases your chances.
Yeah.
Though the general idea is that people from Commonwealth countries. But I know that Bangor University is looking for students from Kenya and one other country in Africa. So you have to check the school's website to actually know what their requirements are concerning Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. Some schools will also tell you to fill a second form, like the University of Chester. So if you are targeting University of Chester, know that you fill a second form that is expression of interest. So don't just apply for the admission and Commonwealth Shared through the Commonwealth Shared portal and think you are done. Make sure you take notice of those things.
Okay, so you can move up, Ochira. So we've spoken about all this, how your impact could be measured. Go. Proposed study. Yeah, so this is what Ima spoke about. Detailed plan of study, I think so. No, this is your study outline. This is where you talk about the courses, how it will be run, the models in it, what they are made up of, and all that. So this is more like your study outline. Like, so this all boils down on research. You should have read about the courses, the models, what you expect from the courses and all that. So they just want to hear from you at first hand what you make of the study that you are coming to have with them, what you make of the course, the program, and all that. So briefly, you don't necessarily have to write everything verbatim. You paraphrase to them what the course is about and all that in this particular session. So the detailed plan of study is over here. You canvas it with a suggested research topic and why you want to do that particular or carry that particular research. So this is where that goes to. So this is more like the developmental impact essay, like I said earlier on, but it adds up to what to make of the course in more detail, without necessarily adding the SDGs or the thematic area here. So this talks about the whole problem in summary. Yeah. And the career plan too. This is where you break it down. If you're self-employed, like Ima said, you know how to craft this particular essay. But if you are someone who is looking for it to be employed or looking for it to carry any other project, you tell them what you want to do. You include any connections, any networking skills and all that over here, what you seek to do with your course after school. This is where you state your career plan in not more than 250 words. You state that here.
Okay. So I see, describe the you expect to gain from the scholarship and your career plans
once you return home.
So this basically it's what your program is about. If it's about your course says that their focus is on programming or artificial intelligence or how to use this, how to use that, that is what you will use. So if it's about IA, how can you use IA in the problem that you identified above and the research title that you have already suggested? That is how you will coin this particular essay.
Hold on. I'm seeing something. You know, this one, you actually have more library to talk about your career plan, maybe within the first 5 years in this particular section. Then there's a specific column here where you talk in advance your career plan in the 5 years following the award. So this one is like the medium term up to 5 years. Then this one talks about the long term. So applicants should take note and know what they put here and know how to advance that conversation in the subsequent box. You get it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing the breakdown here. So you have the luxury to actually talk about the short term here and proceed to the medium and the long term over here. 5 years is mostly the medium term.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something I also want to talk about. The personal statement. Personal statement. If we can briefly talk about it.
Yeah. Kufo, do you want to? What did you
Okay,
have to put here?
okay. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Okay.
John?
So
This is very different from the personal statement you put out during your admission. It's very different. Your personal statement for admission actually wants you to just tell the admission panel or those who offer the admission officers about what you make of the course, what you expect from the course, and what you do with the program after you are done with school. But this one actually expects you to summarize how your personal background. Maybe you are coming from a very, like Ima said, you don't need to tell them you are poor. They know your problem already. You get it. You don't need to tell them how poor you are and why they should give you the scholarship. You can say all that. If your essays are not compelling enough, you are not going to get a scholarship. So in this particular column, you tell them to summarize how your personal background encourage you to want to make an impact in your home country and indicate areas where you have contributed. You get it. You can also highlight your personal barriers that might have come to you towards attaining higher education. You get it. Here you can also talk about maybe being the firstborn of your family, being the only person. These are not rare cases, but these are just examples I'm trying to give. Maybe you are the first person in your family to attain a university education. You see, you are just telling them the barriers, the peculiarities with your success, things that you have gone through, the challenges you have had coming up as a person and all that. This is not. This is also to tell them how you can prefer solutions that you have mentioned. How at the end of the day, you are running it up with how you will use your program to impact society. So your personal story is telling them about yourself, telling them your story. Like the prompts are saying here, summarize the ways in which your personal background has encouraged you. So in my case, I told them how I was a school dropout, how I had to do menial jobs to fund my secondary school education, how I had to wait for years before I went to university. So these are some of the barriers that came my way prior to my university education. So you indicated also how you have contributed in a particular area, such as the community in which you grew up in, any barrier to your education, any significant thing that you think can touch their can make them have some sort of empathy. If I'm to choose my words very right, to win some sort of empathy. So this one talks about you. Just tell them about your personal. It's not about anything that has to do with academics. Like I said earlier on, it's different from personal statement or statement of purpose when you want to get an admission. This one tells them about you. It gives them more picture about you, what you have gone through, any challenges in life and all that. So in this particular personal statement, you sell yourself to them. It's not about essay or anything. Just tell them about yourself. Market yourself to the panel in this particular section. If Emma can have something, this is basically what I have to say.
okay, so the personal statement here, it's just a personal statement. You saying something, you making a statement about yourself, about your life. And to stand out, or an advice I can offer is that most of the people who will be applying with you are going to say that, oh, I was poor, I was this, I was that. And so
Yes.
I did this, and now I need a scholarship so I can do my master's. It's though it will be true, you will be a little, they will be empathetic to your story, but there will be others who will stand out.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't know if we are at the demonstration yet, or maybe I will save that for the demonstration. Lois, what do you say?
Lois is muted though.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So,
Okay.
for instance, I would talk about in my personal in my personal opinion or in my personal experience, I would talk about how I grew up, some of the challenges I faced while growing up in terms of social and in terms of my education, what motivated me to grow above those challenges, what I've been able to achieve with my life, okay, either professionally or socially, the work I've been able to do, and how, I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to do more. You get it?
Yeah.
This story, why you write there, you should save your words on trying to, say that, oh, you need this scholarship so much. Save your words. They know that already.
They know you are poor already.
Exhaust those words, exhaust the word counts that you have on telling them how you've been able to go above the challenges, things that motivate you. And if they are genuine enough, I'm very sure that it will be something that will catch anybody's eye, anyone who is reading's eye. Okay.
Yeah.
So the voluntary and leadership experience. You have 500 words to make justice to this particular essay. So here, in this particular essay, there's nothing small in terms of leadership. Even if you were a cupboard boy, it's a matter of how you executed the position, the impact you made with it. So don't be perturbed about probably you have not been in any leadership position in the past before. The little things, the initiative that you've taken in the past. And like I said earlier on, this particular essay, you tackle it using the STAR method. I can give an example. The STAR method, S stands for situation, the task, which is the T, the action, and the results. So you can give like 3 or 4 examples. In your first example, when you're talking, you talk about, you create the premise, you talk about the situation. And the task you took thereof to actually tackle the situation, some of the things you did to solve, try solving the problem, and the result that came out of your initiative. So using the STAR approach, you talk about this. Don't lose sight of the fact that you are breaking it down. You talk about the situation, you talk about the task, you talk about the action, you talk about the results. It could be internship, it could be voluntary work that you've done in the past, it could be position that you've held. You can even add your national service, maybe some online campaign that you've participated in. You write it to reflect how selfless you are, and how in results oriented you are, how you are able to take initiative without any direction, without people telling you to do, how proactive you are and all that. So this particular essay is just about telling them, and by so doing, you're always trying to link it to what you have stated in your essay. You get it? There should be consistency. Don't say it somewhere, and in this particular essay, you forget about what you have been saying all along. Then start telling them different story altogether. So in this particular essay, the only thing I can say is just write, but don't just write. Write using the STAR approach, and make sure you involve any position, no matter how small it is. Try and sell it very well. Tell them the impact you made with that particular position. It could be anything, like I said earlier, it could be even a cupboard boy, but tell them, okay, while I was a cupboard boy, I was able to make sure that the books that were arranged haphazardly in the cupboard box were now arranged according to gender, according to latecomers, according to this, according to that. So you see, try and figure out where you were and some of the things you did right at that particular position. So this is what I can say with this particular. Maybe I can give an example, just one example that.
Yeah, one example. Then Emmanuel will also give an example, I guess. Yeah.
So with this particular essay, I spoke about my secondary school days where I was a sports prefect. I used the STAR method. The situation was that part-time students were not allowed to take part in school sporting activities. It was a situation that I came to meet. I want them to picture the STAR, because without the STAR, you cannot get enough marks because they tabulate the point that you accrue from all the S's. At the end of the day, then they give the award to the one leading in terms of points. You get it? So when you use the STAR method, you are able to generate more points with this particular essay. So I spoke about the situation where part-time students were not allowed to take part in school sporting activities. And the task as a sports was to make sure that these part-time students are what allowed to take part in the school sporting activities. So the action I took was that I wrote a petition to the school authority telling them why we need to involve these part-time students in the school sporting activities. And in the letter, I stated why do we have to bring them on board because for apparently the talented students, sportsmen were from the part-time school. But unfortunately, they were not allowed to take part in the school sporting activities with the reason that they are not regular students. They come to school after 2. And if we have to get our team and all that, they are not in school and all that. But I made a very strong point for them that these are people who are even at home in the morning. They have time for training and all that. So we need to involve them in the school sporting activities. The result was that now these people were allowed to take part in the school sporting activities. And now we started excelling in the school sporting activities. We were not placing anywhere good when we come to the inter-colleges. Now, by my initiative, where I've allowed these students to come on board, now what are we doing? We are getting results. So I stated the situation, I stated the task, what I was supposed to do, and what I did, and the result thereof. You understand me? So this is a clear example that any panel will be so happy to read. And okay, just one example. So let me let Ima come in.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I was just enjoying the story you were telling.
Yeah.
I lost I
No,
lost
no.
myself along the way. Okay, so what I did, how I tackled this question was to start from the voluntary experience before I got to the leadership. So I'm looking at what I wrote. I mean, the time I was applying, and memories is just flooding in. Anyway, when it comes to the voluntary work and leadership, just as he said, there are several, I mean, little roles that you've taken over the years that up until now you may have you may be thinking they are not really relevant, but believe me, they are really important in your application because it is able to tell the person reading it how far you would go to, I mean, do something about the things you believe in. For instance, in my personal case, I like volunteering a lot. I didn't have to make anything up. In fact, the volunteering experiences were so many. I had to sit down and choose the ones to include. So while selecting, I just selected the ones that were within my scope or that related to my program. For instance, I take part in a lot of screenings, medical screenings, free screenings, and all that. So these were some of the things that I included, and the specific activities I had to perform during these health outreaches. The roles that I played, was it in publicity? Maybe you handle the publicity of an event. Your church did something, you took it upon yourself to advertise to the public. Your school did something, you took it upon yourself to handle the social media publicity, Twitter, posting flyers and all that. You would think they are not relevant, but believe me, they form part of the organizing and planning process. Maybe you took part in the registration of participants at an event. You sat at the table taking details and registering members. You volunteered yourself. Those are experiences that you get at events. And there are experiences, voluntary experiences that you gain on, I mean, regular basis. For instance, anytime I went for clinicals or I mean vacation internship and or attachment, I always extended it. If say I was mandated to do 2 weeks, 6 weeks, I'll just stay in till I mean school resumes because I didn't have anything. So I extended it. It shows that I was ready to work for something I was not even getting paid for. And it says a lot about the kind of person I am. So if you have some experiences like that, these are very important things that you can include. Just think about the things that you did that you didn't get paid for, or the things that you didn't have to do, but you went ahead and to do them anyway. So if you are a teacher, if you are in the education system, perhaps your school does not have a laboratory or anything, but you go the extra mile to improvise and set up some experiments for your students. Don't overlook these things. Probably the funds that or these are things that you were not mandated to do, or these are things that other teachers are not doing, but you did anyway. These are things that you can actually include. So you check the thematic area you've chosen or your program. If you have more specific activities that relate to your program, you go with those ones. If they are not so much, there are no more, just include everything you've got. For instance, for mine, I have there is an association I joined that it's called WASH,
Mm.
Water and Sanitation Hygiene. It's something about that. It's not really microbiology or biomedical, but I still stated it. And the roles that I've played in that team over the years, like celebration of World Toilet Day, the planning, how we went about educating people on hygiene and all that.
Mm.
So these are things you can actually include.
Yeah.
And the leadership aspects, I think John has already handled that. So
Yeah.
the activities that you did, and please don't just state the titles. Interested in the roles. I mean the titles that I was
Yeah,
state. For instance, I was the Nooks treasurer. So what did I do with that?
that is where the star approach come. You should tell
Good,
a story.
good.
Tell a
Mm.
story.
So I was what I said was I was the previous year my predecessor started something called Nooks Day. When I came, I made sure the day turned into a week, and I was able to push for approval for the NUCs, the National Union of Ghana students, to actually get a week to celebrate, just like SRC. We have the SRC week celebration. So this was a, a, on at the university level. So it tells anyone reading it that it involved a lot of work and how the day was successful. And now the Nooks Week has become a tradition because of something I pushed for. You
Mm.
get it? That is how it goes. You just have to think back the very little things that you've done. So you can decide to start from the smallest and you start building up to the biggest and the latest ones you've done so far.
Mm. Okay. I think there's a couple of questions in the chat box, and we
Yeah.
are like running out against time a bit.
Okay.
So I think this part, do you want to talk about any don'ts in this aspect, or is just straightforward
Which part?
from
The
the
voluntary.
attachment? Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. For instance, let me just tell you guys this. The Commonwealth Shared School. When I was applying, I actually didn't know. I didn't get guidance from anyone.
mhm.
Sometimes I found it difficult to actually know what a particular topic or question was expecting, the kind of answer they were expecting. But when I got the scholarship, I realized that a lot of um, people who had already been on the scholarship, people really had the support from that. So they knew exactly what they were doing. And I also got to realize that some of these people already had masters. They were like professionals. They had experience. Okay, such people, they even if they have second class, their experiences is speak for them. They speak for them. You get it. So one thing I will add is that every position, everything that you've done, make sure you try and include them.
Mm.
Don't just leave it so dry that you've done this program and you had a first class or you had your second upper, and that is it. You expect it to compete with people who have done a lot of work. People even have NGOs before they apply.
Mm.
So you can imagine the kind of people you will be fighting for this opportunity with. I don't want to. This is not anything, but I just want to remind you to put in a lot of effort and think back. And it is always good to. I didn't get anyone to review my essays. I just wrote it and I just turned it over.
Mm.
But if you have anyone who has won it before, or if you contact Lois, I think Lois will also be able to help, or even get to us through Lois. It would be good to get someone to also help review it, not write it for you. I should make that clear.
Yeah,
Just review it for you and point
absolutely.
you to the right direction. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I would want to talk about some of the mistakes applicants commit
Okay.
Yeah.
in the application. But before that, there's this particular question on the website. it was Ima's submission that brought my attention to it. When they asked, "Are you currently registered for university education?" There's this particular question. They want to know whether you are in school or registered for any university education. Your answer should be no, because let me be fair here. People are having courses as you speak. You get it. You can keep that to yourself. But once you say yes, you are automatically ineligible for the scholarship. You get it, because the question is asking you whether you are in school or you have been enrolled on any master program. You get it. You should be able to say no, because when you say yes, then that you are out of the race. You are not supposed to be given another scholarship. So the answer to this question is a straight no.
Yeah, so I think that someone asked that, please, I wanted to ask if you could speak more about the tips with regards to writing the essay, something like what you must avoid when writing the essay.
Oh,
So I think
sure.
that
Okay.
comes to the common mistakes you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
So you should avoid talking about general problems. You get it. Like I said in my submission, look at gaps, look at specifics. If you are talking about health, health is a bigger umbrella. You can talk about sexual health, you can talk about the cancers, you can talk about immunity, you can talk about infections. Look at your strength, your background. Like I was saying, journalism is a big problem. I cannot talk or say it all. So I focus on investigative journalism. I spoke about fake news. These are the maximum. I went to just two issues. So don't talk about it, because you can't solve the problem. These are problems existing before you were even born. So you can't come and tell them you want to solve this problem. Are you a magician? It can't work that way. So be specific. You get it. Try and tackle issues in a very limited way. How you can be able to solve it. Also, mistake. Scholarship is a full business. You can't just be there and be writing essays because you think you can write. Invest time, because these people are investing not less than £50,000 into your education by way of school fees, your living expenses, your flight, and everything. It's a lot of money. So it's a full-time business. If you want to raise a scholarship, win a scholarship, it takes time. Don't just wake up and write anything. Research. Go into everything you need to know about whatever you're going to apply, which schools you are going to apply, what course you want to read. You could even be in a different field. I remember in one of the second school I applied, it was about African development. This is something that has nothing to do with, fine, I have an idea about development, but this is something that has nothing to do with media. But I was able to do research, find out the problems in Africa, the developmental gaps, the bottlenecks, all that is hampering development in Africa. Do this kind of research, and also don't apply to so many schools. You can apply to one school, and if it's your slot, you get it. People think when they apply to so many schools, then their chances are higher. You can apply to 30 schools. If you are not doing something right, you never even get one reserve. You understand me? I did just two nominations. It was because the other one was just, I wanted to just tell myself that no, one is not enough. I did two. I got one I was on reserve for Commonwealth. So that tells you that even if it's just one application and you do it very well, you are going to get it. Also, they should try and read enough information on the school websites. They should try and find out what the school wants, because this is shared scholarship, unlike Chevening, that only funds they fund everything. Just that the school, I think, support you 20% with the school fee, but Chevening automatically funds everything. But Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, the school has equal interest in the scholarship application and all that. So try and read, find out more about the course, what you want to do, what your school is looking out for. So the basic thing I want to say is read enough. And also be consistent in your essay. Don't say something in developmental impact essay one, say something different in your career plan, say something else in your proposed study, say something else for you see, be consistent. Let them know that this is what you want, this is what you want to do, this is where you are going to. You understand me? And don't confuse the panel with what they want to know about you. These are the basic mistakes people often do.